Next, on Currents News, New York City public schools forced back into remote learning because of a surge in COVID cases. This as we learn promising news about not one, but 2 vaccines to fight the virus. Powerful back-to-back hurricanes ravage Central America. Could migrants flee to our borders? And how Catholics are helping feed their neighbors this holiday season. The news starts right now. Good evening, I'm Christine Persichetti. The doors are closing again at New York City public schools. Starting tomorrow, it will be all remote learning for all students because the city has reached 3% positivity. Catholic schools in Brooklyn and Queens will remain open. Currents News' Emily Druby has more.
As much as we are unhappy today that this moment was reached, we are resolved to keep fighting.
The moment parents were dreading. It's back to remote learning for all of New York City's public school students, and we aren't sure just when they'll be back in class.
We are looking at this as a temporary closure. We will get students back in buildings as soon as we can, safely.
This city hitting the 3% infection rate Wednesday and as promised shutting school doors, but the announcement was plagued by confusion.
Are the schools going to open tomorrow in New York City?
All right. First of all, let's try not to be obnoxious and offensive in your tone, because you're 100% wrong.
Just minutes before the DOE's chancellor announced the closing, Governor Andrew Cuomo patronized a reporter for asking questions on the matter.
Follow the facts.
Still confused.
Well, then you're confused.
I'm confused, and
Then I'll tell you what, Jimmy.
Parents are still confused as well. The schools
No,
in New
they're
York
not
City
confused.
tomorrow.
As his press conference was ending, reporters got word of CARRANZA's announcement, letting the governor know.
So the mayor's saying it hit 3%?
The chancellor has said that in emails to principals that the schools will be closed temporarily, yes. So I just wanted a reaction from you, the state's.
But that is what the mayor has always said.
Even as New York City schools close, the Diocese of Brooklyn is sticking to their promise as well. They will not close, keeping all 69 of their schools open for in-person learning.
We really want the children in the classrooms.
Superintendent of Catholic Schools for Brooklyn and Queens, Thomas Chadzuko, assuring the schools are prepared to keep students safe. Along with the normal health checks like daily screenings and regular testing as mandated by both the state and city, they've been able to prevent the spread by staying diligent and communicating.
The cases that have come in have been reported to us are really, when we trace them back, and these are events that are beyond our control on the weekends. You know, events where there's been Halloween parties, sporting events, oddly enough, sleepovers.
This situation right now is eerily similar to the beginning of the year when public schools were closed and Catholic schools remained open. If the state designates New York City an orange zone, all schools would have to briefly close and pass a certain level of testing to reopen. Orange zone schools in the Diocese of Brooklyn recently had to test everyone to reopen. However, if all the city became orange, it's not clear if that formula for reopening would stay the same or change. Now, schools in the Diocese of Brooklyn that are currently located in orange or yellow zones will, of course, continue with their state-mandated testing. Christine?
Emily, that testing is so expensive. Who's paying for it?
Christine, right now that testing is crazy expensive. It can be anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 per week per school.
Wow.
And right now the schools are really eating that cost. A lot of the principals we've spoken to said it's not great for their budget at all. Now the superintendent's office is applying for a grant that would help to offset some of those costs. However, we don't know if it will come through, and we don't know if it comes through how much it will be for. Christine?
Have to wait and see. Thanks, Emily. Governor Cuomo's office is responding to the religious freedom lawsuit from the Diocese of Brooklyn. The governor's office says religious gatherings are more prone to spreading the virus, going on to say that many of the state's early cases were caused by super spreader events at houses of worship. The diocese filed an emergency application last Thursday to the Supreme Court to lift restrictions imposed by Governor Cuomo. Cuomo's order severely limited attendance at Mass to no more than 10 people in red zones, regardless of the size of the church and the precautions they implemented and are following. Orange zones were capped at 25 and yellow zones at 50%. On Monday, a Jewish group also filed a similar case with the High Court. Now to some promising news on the virus front. We're just a little closer to getting that COVID vaccine. After a final analysis showing its vaccine is 95% effective, PFIZER will be seeking emergency use authorization from the FDA within days. The new test results show the vaccine is safe and protects higher risk older people. The only side effect, fatigue. The big problem when it comes to the PFIZER vaccine is distribution. It has to be stored in temperatures that most freezers can't handle. But a company in Cincinnati, Ohio makes freezers that can. And now the family-owned business is swamped with new orders. Employees at this Ohio manufacturing company are working overtime, making freezers.
It's rated to minus 85, okay, but it'll go down to minus 91.
Minus 91 Celsius. That's colder than 130 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. Cold enough to freeze a Coke can solid in less than 8 minutes. What's hot is the demand for these super cold freezers.
Normally our business is a lot of onesie-twosie orders. We're getting orders for 50, 40, 210.
Solo Environmental Equipment now taking orders from Lowe's and Rite Aid because the company is one of very few making freezers that can store Pfizer's COVID vaccine at minus 70 degrees Celsius. That's negative 94 Fahrenheit.
No one in the United States right now has capacity. You know, there's a worldwide shortage of freezers.
Meanwhile, a manufacturing facility in Portsmouth, New Hampshire is playing a big role in the production of Moderna's vaccine. The head of LONZA's engineering says instead of providing a non-active strain of the virus like a flu shot, this vaccine focuses on a person's DNA.
This goes in and reprograms the DNA to produce an anti-virus response to the virus itself.
And unlike the Pfizer vaccine, Moderna's vaccine does not need deep cold storage to survive. Maine's CDC director says that means it can be delivered to more rural areas.
It can even be stored in a refrigerator for a number of days as well, and still have shelf stability and not degrade or deteriorate.
As we reported, both Pfizer and Moderna plan to apply for emergency use authorization. A source familiar with the process says the FDA could make a decision about that as early as December 10th. Bishop Joseph Strickland of Tyler, Texas on Monday said Moderna's vaccine is not morally produced, saying it uses cells from aborted children. But the National Catholic Bioethics Center says the vaccine's production is not ethically problematic. Both the Moderna and Pfizer vaccine use a protein from the coronavirus rather than using cell lines from aborted fetuses. That protein triggers the production of antibodies in whoever gets the vaccine. A top official from the National Catholic Bioethics Center, John Berhaney, will be joining us tomorrow to dive deeper into the ethics of the two vaccines. Everything you need to know to make your decision before getting the shot tomorrow on Currents News. The pandemic has worsened food insecurity here in the Brooklyn Diocese. Lines at food pantries continue to grow as we head into the holidays, but there are good souls out there trying to help. Currents News' Jessica Easthope is in Woodside and shows us.
This Thanksgiving, tens of millions of Americans will go hungry, and the pandemic has only made it harder to feed those in need. Just ask Crystal Wolfe.
There's a growing hunger crisis, and it's not getting any better with the coronavirus. It got astronomically worse.
Crystal runs the nonprofit Catering for the Homeless. Her mission to end hunger with the 133 billion pounds of food excess in the United States every year.
So there's literally enough food going to waste that no one needs to be going hungry.
The COVID-19 crisis has motivated Crystal to expand her operation across the country. But here in New York City, she partners with more than 100 restaurants, schools, and catering companies, gathering and distributing excess food. One of them is St. Teresa's in Woodside.
We got the two kind of vegetables.
Norberto Saldana has been in charge of the parish's food pantry for nearly 2 decades. During the pandemic, it went from feeding about 100 people a week to 500.
I see people that they used to work now sitting in the line. You know, we don't judge, but it surprises you when you see all these people.
Volunteers say it's a testament to how great the need still is that when the pantry doors open, all 150 of these bags are gone in minutes.
People reserving the space.
Norberto says even those who have jobs are hungry. They come before work and save spots along the street with plastic bags. The bags show up hours before the people do.
I get food for my children, or I pay the rent.
People have had to choose between paying their bills and eating.
People have to choose.
Norberto said the work they do would have been impossible without Crystal's help.
It's not that she only brings the food. She stayed with us, helping us.
Crystal says God has called her to take action. She relates to those struggling because she's been there.
I've gone hungry. I've been homeless briefly at different times. I think it's just such a tragedy for so many people to be suffering, and yet there's a solution.
Crystal is working to expand her operation to Pennsylvania and Indiana and is accepting donations, food, and supplies. In Woodside, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
You can donate to Crystal's cause at cateringforthehomeless.com. Again, that's cateringforthehomeless.com. There's a lot more news headed your way. President Trump's campaign now calling for a recount of the vote in Wisconsin. Brooklyn's borough president Eric Adams officially has his sights set on City Hall. And the devastating damage from back-to-back hurricanes in Central America could fuel more migration to the U.S. border.
Now you can help us put your faith in the news. The next time you capture a newsworthy event, send us your pictures or video. It's easy. Go to netny.tv/send us, and you may see your submission on Currents News.
President Trump's campaign coughing up $3 million to pay for a recount in Wisconsin in an effort to overturn the Badger State. The campaign is targeting two heavily Democratic counties, Milwaukee and Dane counties, saying they were the sites of the worst irregularities, despite providing no evidence of wrongdoing. The canvassed results of Wisconsin show Biden beating Trump by more than 20,000 votes. Taking a closer look at the $3 million price tag, Rose Schmidt explains how the coronavirus has caused recount costs to skyrocket.
The statewide estimate for a recount is $7.9 million. That's almost 4 times what Jill Stein paid for the recount back in 2016.
COVID-19, the pandemic. I mean, we're operating in a whole new environment right now, which really has driven the cost up substantially.
Milwaukee County Clerk George Christensen says his county's portion would be more than $2 million. This includes costs associated with staff, security, equipment, and PPE. But the biggest cost is nearly $650,000 to rent the Wisconsin Center.
We looked at several spaces ranging from 60,000 square feet up to this, and we just felt for the public safety, we wanted to go with the largest space we could get.
Now that canvassing is complete in all 72 counties, Christensen says he's seen no evidence of irregularities, but the county is committed to transparency. It would spend $400,000 to live stream the recount.
We feel we got enough space so everybody can watch the democratic process.
That was Rose Schmidt reporting. Counties would have to start the recount no later than Saturday and complete it by December 1st.
So I'm very honored. I was kind of emotional earlier because of some of the things that were said in nomination.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is getting the full force of the Democratic Party behind her re-election. House Democrats nominating her to continue the role for another 2-year term. A full House vote is expected in January, where she will need a majority vote. Pelosi says she is excited to work under the Biden administration. The Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams has thrown his hat into the ring for New York City Mayor.
We're in a dark place right now, a dark moment for New York and America. Whether it's the pandemic or violence in our streets, we don't feel safe. And too often, city government makes things worse.
Adams announced his candidacy on Twitter and in a campaign video posted to social media. After a long career in the NYPD, the Democrat was elected to the New York State Senate in 2006. In 2013, Adams became the first person of color to serve as borough president. He's currently serving his 2nd term. The U.S. could be preparing for a huge influx of migrants as Hurricane Iota continues to ravage Central America. The storm possibly leading to severe conditions such as life-threatening landslides and flash flooding. Patrick Oppman reports.
The most powerful storm so far in the Atlantic in 2020, Iota made landfall in Nicaragua as a devastating Category 4 hurricane. Iota came ashore just 15 miles south from where Hurricane Eta, another Category 4 storm, hit earlier this month. With the ground already soaked from Eta's heavy rains, emergency officials warned that Hurricane Iota could cause dangerous mudslides and flash flooding. Colombia's president sent a Navy ship with 15 tons of emergency supplies to Providencia, Colombian territory off the coast of Nicaragua, where one storm survivor said Iota had devastated the island.
Providencia is destroyed. There is not a single home left in good condition. All the homes are destroyed. All the vegetation is destroyed.
Tens of thousands of people have had to evacuate their homes in Nicaragua and Honduras because of the two unusually powerful late-season hurricanes. The president of Honduras says climate change is wreaking havoc on Central America.
It has been scientifically verified, and seeing it in practice, that Central America and Honduras are among the regions in the world most affected by climate change, we have had a problem.
A problem that could have far-reaching impacts. Hurricane Mitch in 1998 leveled whole areas of Honduras and Nicaragua, killing thousands of people and leaving millions more homeless. Tens of thousands migrated to the United States. Failing crops blamed on the effects of climate change have already caused thousands to leave Central America and head north. The damage caused by Hurricane Eta and now Iota will likely add to the desperation and fuel more migration. But it could take days or weeks to fully assess the destruction.
This is one of the most poorest and vulnerable areas in the country. To have an idea, to get to Bilwi, it will take you like more than 13 hours by car, or to take a flight, which right now is not possible.
There's less than 2 weeks until the end of hurricane season, but the hurt inflicted by first Hurricane Eta and now Hurricane Iota will likely endure for years to come.
And that was Patrick Oppman reporting. Still to come on Currents News, recent attacks in Nigeria bringing renewed attention to the horrors of Christian persecution. And a Good Samaritan comes to the rescue after a 93-year-old widower lost his wedding ring. Christian persecution is nothing new in the streets of Nigeria, but recent attacks have brought attention to the country now more than ever. Father COSMAS NZEABALU is the coordinator for the Nigerian apostolate in the Diocese of Brooklyn. He joins us now to fill us in. And Father COSMAS, you've said the Nigerian government is ignoring the persecution of Christians, giving a pass to the herdsmen who are terrorizing Christian farmers. Tell us what's going on.
For a very long time, the government has been very negligent of the situation of the people in Nigeria in so many areas, but especially in the recent time, the persecution of Christians and also even killing of innocent people. They have not really paid attention to human life and the value of life. Recently, sometime in September, we had an incident killing of farmers in their villages in southern Kaduna, which is a Christian area. And people have been clamoring. The Catholic Bishops' Conference has been speaking about it. The whole populace, have been speaking about it, but the government paid no attention to it. And that's why we feel that it's time to speak out, so that the whole world will know what is going on, and then so that we find a remedy to that, because human life is more important than anything.
It sounds awful. Cardinal Timothy Dolan recently spoke about his concerns about the persecution of Christians throughout the world and specifically mentioned Nigeria. Let's listen to what he had to say.
It's just been brought to my attention that now it's been going on for a while, I'm afraid, in Nigeria and Africa, but it's intensifying now. And the new president, so my brother bishops say, is less than attentive to the persecution of Christians, and they worry about it.
Yeah, so Cardinal Dolan just said this was just brought to his attention. Your reaction to that, and is that why you're so vocal about this? You want to increase the awareness about what's going on in Nigeria?
He spoke exactly what is going on in that country right now. The government is paying no attention. And part of it is because he felt Nigeria is structured in a very tribal way, unfortunately. We have the Igbos in the east, and we have the Yorubas in the west, and we have the Hausas who are Muslims in the north. So now the people who are killed are Christians in the east, in the west, and some Christians, very few, who are located in the northern part of Nigeria. And so because these people are not Muslims, he felt their lives have no value. But every human life has value, and that has to be treated with respect. And so at this time, we also call on Nigerian government, number one, to pay attention. We also call the international community to pay attention. Nigeria is a very big country, and Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa. And Nigeria is also economically well placed in Africa. So we really have a lot of problems that needs to be tackled.
Father Cosmas, thanks for spreading awareness about this very important subject.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Father Cosmas will be praying for the persecuted Christians in Nigeria every Sunday. You can help by joining him at St. Fortunata Parish, located on 2609 Linden Boulevard in Brooklyn. The zip code there, 11208. And finally tonight, an elderly man in Rhode Island had his prayers answered after a complete stranger helped him find his wedding ring. Sam Reed has the heartwarming story.
Ryan Ledbetter of Westerly has a love for finding what's beneath.
It's one of my hobbies. I usually do relic hunting for historical stuff.
A while back, he bought what he calls the Cadillac of metal detectors. He had planned to put it away for the season until he came across a Facebook post in a community group.
I put the message out there that my poor 93-year-old father lost his wedding band. Ryan replied instantly.
Prior to this past weekend, Ryan had never met 93-year-old James Crowley.
I couldn't deal with the feeling of him being worried sick, so I said, let me get on it and get over here.
He knew Crowley could use the help, so he took a trip to his home and learned he had lost his wedding band while working in his big backyard.
I didn't realize it till later on that night. The next day I went out and I looked all over, couldn't find it.
The pair went over the area of where it may be.
And we didn't have any luck at first, and I kind of got discouraged.
Crowley had given up hope.
A yard like this with 1 million leaves, what are the odds that I'll find it?
But Ryan didn't.
80, that's good.
I found it. He held it up.
I was just happy because I was happy to see him be happy once I found it.
The value of what he recovered is priceless.
She was my wife and my best friend.
Having been married for about 70 years, 6 years ago, Crowley lost the love of his life. That ring had never come off of his finger, and it never will again.
It's a bond between her and I. That's why it bothered me when I lost it.
We're really grateful that he found it and that he stepped up just to come out and said, I'll be there tomorrow morning, and he was here. There's a lot of good in the world.
Again, that was Sam Reed reporting. Ryan says a while back he picked up metal detecting as one of his many hobbies, and it seems James Crowley is glad he did. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.